What is happening, little baby internet land? I am Lynn and welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. Lately I've been doing this thing where I cook stuff from the Mythical cookbook, but do it kind of adapted, usually on the cheap, because hey, we broke out here. On this channel I do something that helps those fingers sing, and lately it's been cooking. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The recipe I went with this time was the Lomo Saltado Cheesesteak on the cheap, which I believe, aside from the cheap part, is actually a Rhett McLaughlin from Good Mythical Morning recipe. And I'm gonna say, like, the actual recipe as is absolutely sounds like perfection, okay? Not gonna lie. But definitely out of my reach. So I totally made some modifications that, not gonna lie, if you do them wrong, will make the sandwiches kind of crappy. The key here is just don't do them wrong. No worries though, because I'm totally gonna teach you how to avoid that. Biggest change I made in this recipe, it calls for ribeye, but like in this economy, yeah, I'm not gonna call a boyfriend and ask him to like put in a second mortgage on the house just so I can cook dinner, right? Now the sort of thing I do have money for is beef stew meat. Kinda tough, okay, really tough. So you have to cook it like low and slow to kind of get that tender. The thing with beef stew meat though is that it actually can be like really tender. I mean, it's almost something I would use when I'm looking to make like a faux brisket. You know, kind of get that brisket texture, that brisket taste, but then totally avoid like that brisket cost. One in this recipe is you gotta sear the meat. Okay, when you're doing this, you want to sear it with an aromatic. I use garlic. Now, in honor of the palm heel strike garlic that this recipe actually calls for, I'm wearing the palm heel strike t-shirt, available at mythicalkitchen.com probably. I use the cheap stuff. Like, it lasts for a long time. You can keep it in the fridge, and it goes with, you know, every recipe. And I've never really noticed that much of a difference in taste or anything. So I'm searing this on a medium-high heat, not like a high heat. I know that life's too short to cook on medium, but in this case, it's kind of preferable because you definitely don't want to like fully cook that beef this way. Just a little bit of browning and that the Maillard effect, whatever you call it, when you get browned meat that's supposed to make it taste better. I don't know. These sciencey cooking things, they escape me, guys. I also at this point incorporated some onion powder and some parsley flakes just because someone told me that parsley flakes are a good alternative to salt one time, and I believe that shit. It was probably wrong, but I believed it, so we're going with it now. Also, there was a small shake of Montreal steak seasoning just to cover our butts. Stew meat is usually sold in like fairly large chunks, so there's actually very little chance of cooking these pieces through when you're browning them, as long as you don't cook it on high heat. It definitely draws out the cooking process, but let me tell you, in this recipe and in any recipe that you're using this stew meat for, it is totally worth it, guys. With this recipe, I wasn't going for the full tenderness that you can get out of stew meat, but I was looking for something that was softer, easier to chew. It more of like a sandwich type meat. Step 2 on working with stew meat is water. You'll notice that I did put a little bit of water in there, and there was just a little bit more. You want to do this kind of in stages so that you don't like overwhelm the heat from the pan. Just go ahead and get like a little in there that's boiling and steaming, and then wait like a little bit and then put enough in there just to cover the meat. Now this is when you're going to go ahead and turn that bad boy on high just for a little bit, hot water up to a boil. Cooking with stew meat can definitely be like a long process. I think from start to finish in real time, this one took me maybe 30 minutes in all, which is probably longer than I would usually spend on one portion of a meal, but totally worth it when you've got this cut. Just for shits and giggles though, I did glance over at the ribeye prices, and they started with a 2. They were all, you know, at least double digits, and yeah, that's all I checked out. Again, the stew meat was like $7.50, like maybe $7.62 for the package that was a £1.50. Used half the package for these sandwiches, and took the other half and made taco meat out of that. That I did cook like low and slow over, I think, about 8 hours to make it really super tender, and mixed it with some beans that I refried and made some taco filling out of that. And the leftovers from that are going to be made into a taco soup tonight. I've actually got them coming up to room temperature right now. So you can really stretch out those packages. And I know it's not something that we're really used to day and age of 2025, but it's absolutely something that our grandmothers, they did that. They did that because it was holdover from either their mothers or, like in my case, because I'm old as crap, my grandmother lived through the Great Depression, and so she learned like all these little ways to, you know, just like make meat last. And we in our house, like, we're meat eaters. I'm sorry, it's like the Midwest coming out in us, even though I know we're from the South, but we're like right on that border of the Midwest, and we do like some good beef, you know, and I don't want to make excuses for that, so I'm not going to, but I will say that if you're going to consume beef, it's best to do so in a way that, like, gives you as many meals as possible using as little of the beef as possible. This was an excellent value for $7.50 for this meat, and now it's going to be like 3 meals and 2 lunches, because I had tacos a little bit earlier, and I'll probably have taco soup tomorrow for lunch. So, I mean, it works out. If you're being budget conscious, there are ways to get in those like little luxury meals, like the little Rhett McLaughlin recommended meal. And if I had some more like pantry stuff, like some diced tomatoes, you know, even like some Rotel or something would have been great in this. I did not, though, because I just haven't been paying attention to my little pantry lately. But as you can see, like, this is a great meal that I put together for relatively little money. Even the French onion buns that I used as like the hoagie rolls, guys, they were like last day in the Walmart bakery for $1.99. You can be cheap and still eat really well. It's a thing. You just have to be in some corners. These sandwiches, though, ended up being like totally boyfriend approved. Tacos, totally boyfriend approved. And I know he loves taco soup because he mentions it seriously, like on the regular. So, you know, it's easy to stretch a budget if you really, really get creative with it. And by creative, I mean not always the best cuts of meat, not always the veggies, but even without like the best cuts of meat and the veggies, I think these sandwiches were awesome. Definitely 10 out of 10. They're definitely going on the make again list. Score 1 for Rhett McLaughlin, I think. Yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and catch me in my next video. Peace out, my lovelies.